My name is Roy Adams. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army, and I founded Chairs of Honor. Chairs of Honor is a nonprofit that is dedicated to two values. Really, preserving craft is one, the craft of chair making, and two, preserving honor, and that's the honor of veterans and their service. One of the things we always did after missions in Iraq was we sat at our housing units, and we had rocking chairs there that were made by local Iraqi craftsmen. And Sergeant Major, the XO, and myself, and we would just sit and really decompress for the day. So about a year ago, a former battalion commander called me up and said, "Hey, I've been remembering that time, and I want you to build me a rocking chair." We sat on the phone for like 2 hours just remembering the fallen that we had in our battalion, just the people around us, and telling each other stories. And I just made a comment to him and said, these stories are getting lost. How do we preserve what's happening? How do we preserve these stories so they're not lost? I'm passionate about woodworking and what it's done for me and my mental health as a veteran. And I wanted to give back to veterans in a way, in a unique way. So I just started doing some research about how I could do this. Came up with this crazy idea of building a chair for a veteran and having them tell a story. And then it crafted into video, the story, and put it to the chair, and then it stays with the chair. That's kind of how the idea came about, from a simple phone call from a former battalion commander saying, "Hey, I want you to build me a rocking chair."
I remember my dad in his brother's Vietnam and Korea days. And I remember seeing the movie, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, and they interviewing the guys, not the actors, but the individual soldiers, and Hal Moore and all those guys. And even how as they were talking, telling the stories, their mouth would get dry. And again, I hadn't been to combat. I was a young guy. And I'm thinking, man, that's been like 20 or 30 years ago, man. And they're still. And it's interesting. So when we were setting up, that's the first thing came back to my mind. I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm those guys. Yeah, I'm now part of they officially. Oh my gosh, man, how much time has passed? So thank you. I've enjoyed it, man. You know, you can't please everyone, and nor do I try to. I have an objective, and I have always been one, regardless whether it's the military or civilian side, when I have an objective, I'm going to meet it. So the only question is, are you with me, or are you getting cut off the ship? Not that it's mean, but I have an objective for my family. There's things I want to be able to do for the future generations, that they don't stand in the same hole I stood in. That we have some financial freedom, so they have some opportunity to do some things that folks that are in the community, they have the opportunity to do some things. Either I have done, or exposed to, and I've shared with them, so their families are in much better shape. And I think passing information, helping people think, passing the information to make sound decisions, and given opportunities will cause people to, I think, have less worry. And then I think in some cases, less worry than maybe more understanding. Because everybody wants the same thing. You know that. I mean, we've been around the world enough to know that it doesn't matter if you're from the UK or Istanbul or backside of Chicago or, as they say down in Mobile, Alabama, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants the same thing. To be treated fairly, have a shot at whatever dream whichever path you want. And so I think I've tried to help people, once they're on the path, or first identify the path, and then when you're on the path, just reassure you that you can get there, man. It'll be a little hard. There's some hills and dales in there. You might fall down, but you can get there. In between our living quarters, we had a little patio, and these rocking chairs showed up. I don't even know where we came from, and so they're there, and we sit in them. And at the end of the day, we sit there and just laugh and talk about things that we had done well, things that we needed to improve on. We talked about family, just life, other than where we were there in Iraq. And I remember thinking, I sure would like to take this thing home. But you can't. There's certain things you can bring back from foreign countries, certain things you can't. And but I thought, man, I sure would like to take this thing home, because we'd starting to kind of wear the hands down. It had a little dirt on it, and it's like, okay, it's really not mine, but I'm kind of like commandeering this thing. And so we got back to the States. I don't think we tried to bring them back. And so you and I was in Saudi Arabia, I think in January this year.
You were.
And so we were on the phone, and I was, you were talking, and I was like, man, you remember those rocking chairs? We were just kind of out there. And he's like, and I knew you were working with wood, and I said, man, could you like build me a chair? Is that possible? And so I remember standing on the, I think I was on the 7th or 8th floor, standing out looking out over the city in Riyadh there in Saudi Arabia, and we just started talking, and here's the chair. And so, you know, you talked me through, hey, this is what I'm doing, what color do you like? I said, well, try this, can you put a cross there? And so over the last, 60, 90 days, and then you brought it today, and of course, it's just been a good time, and this is my chair. I got my Stetson on it, which may hang on it forever now, and so it's
gonna stay in your family.
It's gonna stay in my family forever. Because I know my son's gonna want to sit in it. I'm like, hey man, that's my chair.
So all the work we're doing is with draw knives, no lathe work, no turning work. So it's all kind of with our hands.
Woodworking is a way to get the thoughts that I have in my head out into the real world.
In my normal job, I sit at a computer all day and I feel like I make anything. And so this, I get to use my hands, and when I'm done at the end of the day, I don't have a spreadsheet, I have a chair. I actually have something that's I've accomplished.
I love the craft, the process, and how the chairs are actually made. I use it as a way to distract myself or to deal with whatever.
Everything we're doing essentially has been painted finish, which is pretty classic Windsor style finish with a undercoat of a color and then a top wash coat of another color. Makes it really look just striking with the tool marks and things like that. So I guess I describe it generally as a rustic Windsor chair.
The idea of three guys who normally would have never been able to spend time together got together this weekend to work on these three chairs, and it's been an amazing experience sharing stories, military stories, and then just tips and tricks of woodworking around the shop, stuff that you just didn't think of that somebody else has.